Coming soon to a...
For me, before there was Ocarina of Time, before there was Halo, before there was Bubsy 3D, there was Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts has pretty much always been there. Like, okay, I know there was a time before I played the game, but that don't even register to me, alright? This game affected me so deeply and changed me so fundamentally that the memories of playing it for the first time have never left me. And as I move into the full-on drop the young part of my adult life, I find myself reflecting on the game's messaging and symbolism as a metaphor for the feelings I'm working through regarding moving forward. My emotional connection to Kingdom Hearts began at my very first playthrough, alright? So let me set the stage. I was 5 years old, and the most atmospheric and serious game I'd ever played was Medal of Honor at my cousin's house. I spent all of my gaming time playing stuff like this, and this, and this.
Mama's boy?
Which, don't get me wrong, all this is cool too. I remember getting a PS2 for Christmas and having to wait for my cousin to come plug it up for us because all any of us knew how to use was an RF cable. Which, looking back is a little embarrassing because, it's color coordinated. But a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about in this video is a little embarrassing, so it's okay. The very first thing we saw when booting up this mysterious new console was this.
I don't wanna get demonetized. 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 I don't wanna get demonetized.
This completely blew me away. This was like seeing a movie in color for the first time. I didn't even know shit like this was possible in a video game. After this opening cinematic that relies entirely on visual storytelling and symbolism, you were dropped onto a shining, stained glass pillar shooting up out of an infinite black void. Mysterious choral music, echoing footsteps, and only text on screen to guide you. Again, video game music is supposed to sound like this. Video games are supposed to make you feel like this. But Kingdom Hearts begins with a clear focus on ambiance and mystery. Throughout the opening sequence, there is no spoken dialogue, but a disembodied voice speaks to you and reassures you. Take your time. Don't be afraid. The door is still shut. All this is spooky, but everything's going to be okay, alright? There's no rush. After making your way through this opening dive to the heart sequence, you're brought to a sunny island and surrounded by 3 children. Now, all of these were new faces to me. I didn't play no damn Final Fantasy, bro. I can barely understand Pokemon. But once you talk to these kids, you are faced with something that I had never experienced up to this point in my life, through video games or otherwise. The player is asked real, serious questions about who they are and what they believe. These questions are imbued with such gravitas that it's hard to overstate how big of a moment this was for me as a kid. They were so simply put and so open-ended that they really got me to think about them. There's also no indication whatsoever that they have any effect on gameplay. Okay, looking back, I can kind of see what they were going for, but even now, you'll need a guide to be able to make a fully informed choice, and I didn't have any of that. I was freaking 2 years old, bro. This ominous, cryptic video game is asking me to think about who I am. What do I want out of life? What is most important to me? What am I afraid of? All 3 of these choices were scary as a kid, but I always picked growing old. Growing old meant my family members passing away, my friends growing distant, and this carefree and seemingly infinite part of life that is childhood coming to an end. The day the door will open is both far off and very near. Childhood feels like a lifetime when you're in it, but I always felt the looming presence of my inevitable adulthood throughout. I liked being a kid. It meant the pressures of growing up and being something were still far off. I still messed up and I had a lot to learn, but that's okay and it's to be expected when you're young. Theoretically, I had plenty of time to figure it out, but being an adult, in my mind, meant there was no more room for error. When you're older, your choices and your actions define you, and you have to iron out all those pesky kinks in your inner self before then. The symbolic weight of that opening dive to the heart section primes you for a deep emotional connection with these questions, and the lack of a clear gameplay indication makes them feel all the more real. To this day, it is still the most impactful opening to a video game I have ever played. This question puts that looming inevitability of adulthood into the forefront of the player's mind, and the memory of this experience stayed with me throughout the next section. Alright, so Sora wakes up and he puts that crazy ass experience into the back of his head, but it certainly never left me. As I progressed through what is essentially the prologue, I knew it would all be over soon. The characters are focused on building a raft to sail beyond their world and to see what's out there. And the narrative thrust of this section is about leaving behind what's comfortable for something new and exciting. During this opening section, you get a lot of insight into the characters that will drive the emotional thread of the story. You get to know Sora and Riku and Kairi, and I became really attached to them thanks to their incredible performances and the great dialogue, which is leagues better than the entire rest of the series, dude. I'm sorry, it just is. Like, this is way more believable than this.
I feel strong with you, Kairi.
What the hell is that? You also get to explore this really cool island that's inhabited entirely by other kids. There's little nooks and crannies that are fun to find, as well as a secret area that holds a lot of story significance. The player has no idea how significant it is, but the mystique of this area thematically ties the lighthearted Destiny Island section to the opening dive to the heart section. Is this the door that the disembodied voice was talking about? The island is a home away from home for our characters, a place outside of time where they can be themselves. They have fun, they play games, they develop relationships, and they talk about their dreams. When I got to the end of the Destiny Island section for the first time, I was actually really upset. I wasn't ready to move on from this world. I loved the music, I loved the atmosphere, but more than anything, I loved how insular it was. This world is completely separate from the rest of the game. And once you leave, it's completely inaccessible. You as a player also have to deliberately choose to end the tutorial and leave the island. Theoretically, you could stay here forever, never progressing through the rest of the game, and there's nothing preventing you from doing so. And I didn't want to. All the characters are so ready to move on from this part of their lives and go into the wider world, but I just wasn't. To this day, I have always kept a save file right here in this little shack, so I can go back and experience this static, unchanging world whenever I want. I wanted to sit and bask in the seemingly infinite summer that is childhood. I didn't want to leave the island. I didn't want to leave my friends. I didn't want to see what's out there, at least not yet. I knew that once I left, there was no coming back. There's no recapturing the magic and wonder of being a kid without the pressures of the world. There's always the next thing to move on to and the next milestone to make, and you always got to be doing something and moving forward, and man, I am so tired. I wanted to make this last forever. But if I had never taken that next step, I would have never played the most important game in my entire life. You are now on a wild adventure that spans a galaxy of new worlds, meeting new people and overcoming mounting odds to rescue your friends from darkness. Kingdom Hearts completely opened up my mind to what video games could be, alright? The combat is so responsive and snappy. Do not say anything in the comments section. The music is wow. The scope of the worlds, which may seem quaint and box-like now, seemed massive to me as a kid. Also, as I'm sure you can tell by now, the narrative doesn't hold your hand and spell everything out for you. Rather than concerning itself with specifics and technicalities, every other Kingdom Hearts game, the story is driven by emotion. You connect with Sora's motivations, and the exact reasons for why all this stuff is happening isn't that important. I can pick up the stupid Ansem reports if I care about that. In this way, I felt like the game treated me, a very young kid, with a level of respect. I didn't feel like my intelligence was being insulted. I felt like the writing left gaps for me to fill in with my imagination and kind of figure stuff out by myself. As Sora goes on this journey of growth and self-discovery, I felt like my capacity for following a long and mysterious narrative was increasing as well. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was growing too. The game was pushing me. Anyway, the main narrative thrust throughout the game for Sora and for the player is to reunite with Riku and Kairi. Then, everyone can return home and resume their childhood as before. Things went sideways, the world is scary, and we just want to be together again. Aw. But in the end, we see that that's impossible. Partially because these characters are going to be in like 40 more games, but mainly because when you return to something after so much has happened and you've changed so much as a person, nothing is ever the same. Earlier when I said Destiny Islands was completely inaccessible for the rest of the game, I actually told a little bit of a fib. The final door you ever open in Kingdom Hearts gives you this prompt. The last thing you do in the game is make a deliberate choice to leave behind everything you've become accustomed to for something completely unknown. Again. At the end of this journey of self-discovery, hardship, growth, pain, triumph, and loss, you return to the place where it all started. Behind this door is your island, but it's not quite the same. There are pieces missing. It's actively decaying. Large parts of the landscape are consumed by darkness. The music is gone, and so are all of the people you remember from your time here. This, I feel, is representative of the hollowness of nostalgia and the fruitless effort to return to the past. Think about it. What do you remember about the place you grew up? Like, maybe you remember how the beach looked. Kind of. Or that cool treehouse. Or the weird shack. You remember the big stuff, but everything else is lost, covered by the shroud of time. And even if you were to go back there, nothing is the same as it was. Your swing set is gone. The woods behind your house are now a Dollar General. Your favorite tree, that was as big as the whole sky, has been cut down. The world has changed. And you have changed. Growing up is inevitable. And those new experiences change who you are, and they add perspective to your life. You are not the same person existing in that space that you once were. We are constantly evolving as people, and that bleeds into every aspect of our lives. Like, okay, here's an example, all right? I love to rewatch movies. You know, I just enjoy the craft of filmmaking, and I really appreciate it as an art form. But I also really enjoy seeing how a movie affects me differently on each subsequent rewatch. My mood, my experiences, my failures or triumphs in my personal life that are fresh on my mind all affect how I interpret a film's message. You know, I often say stuff like, I wish I could go back and watch The Lord of the Rings for the first time. Because, like, those movies are so incredible and they mean so much to me. But they only mean so much to me because they fundamentally changed me as a person. And each rewatch has strengthened that bond. Being able to see it for the first time again would be cool to have that moment of discovery as the story plays out and the characters grow, but those emotional ties wouldn't quite be there. And would I trade the effect that those movies have had on me as a person just to be able to see them for the first time again? No way. I don't even know who I would be if I never heard Sam say, "There's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for." I have been changed. I could never see that with fresh eyes again, even if I wanted to. I can never sit in the floor of my childhood bedroom and boot up Super Street Fighter 2 The New Challengers and have that feeling of wonder ever again. And ultimately, that's okay. We can mourn the loss of our innocence and miss the special people and places and things that were once so dear to us. But it is inevitable. We are powerless in the face of the unflinching, unyielding march of time. Whether we want to or not, we will all grow up and leave that part of ourselves behind us. That's life. And not to freak you out or anything, but we are all gonna die, no matter what we do. I think more and more people struggle with this around my age than like ever before. I mean, the world kind of sucks right now. So much of the media being made these days is meant to remake or reboot something that was great when we were kids. I'm absolutely not the first person to talk about this concept, but it's true. If something's not directly remade, it's meant to harken back to the feeling of things that were great when we were younger. Dude, as I was writing this video, rumors popped up about them remaking this game. Like, why? And look, I'm certainly not above this. I mean, I'm not entirely in Arrested Development. I am a man, I am 40, but still, I get it. I've often found myself wishing I could go back to the feeling of being a kid again. Like, the world felt real and special and exciting. I've sometimes made the mistake of not fully embracing this next phase of life because I'm worried about what it might hold. The past is certain. I mean, it already happened. I know what to expect, and I got the old red specs to put on to make it seem all peachy keen, too. The next part is scary and opaque, and it sounds like a lot of freaking work. I have been guilty of wanting to hold on to the feeling of childhood for as long as I could. But listen, ultimately, it is in vain. I know it seems uncertain and dangerous and horrible, but you can't stay on the island forever. You gotta meet Jack Skellington and kill Oogie Boogie, bro. You gotta get eaten up by Monstro. You gotta go to work, and you gotta talk to that cutie. And my God, you've got to get your driver's license. There's amazing shit to do and incredible people to meet if you can accept something that is fundamentally and irrefutably true. You are never going to go back. And what lies ahead can be just as good, if not better. Regardless of warnings, the future doesn't scare me at all. Because nothing is like before.